You don't really know much about Halloween. You thought no further than the strange custom of having your children wear masks and go out begging for candy.
Halloween 3 Season of the Witch revolves around Dr. Chalice and Ellie Grimbridge, who set out to uncover the truth about why Ellie's father was murdered, with their only clue being a silver shamrock Halloween mask he had in his possession. And their investigation leads them all the way back to sleepy Santa Mira, and to the headquarters of Silver Shamrock itself and its magnanimous owner, Connell Cochran. But not all is as it seems in this quiet, unassuming town, and the more Dr. Chalice and Ellie dig, the more they find out that Cochran has a sinister trick that he's about to play on the world on Halloween night.
Happy Halloween.
Halloween 3 debuted in 1982 and was more or less panned across the board by both critics and fans, who centered their grievances around its nihilistic tone and the absence of Michael Myers. But over the years, the film has gone through a renaissance, with many reappraising the film for its uniqueness by trying to take the franchise in an anthology direction. And while I love Michael Myers, I also love Season of the Witch. It's a different flavor of Halloween terror that is more akin to Invasion of the Body Snatchers than a blood and guts slasher.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
And in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, there are a total of 9 kills, 8 of which are attributed by Connell Cochran. And the kills you won't see on this ranking are that of the androids, because they're robots, obviously. But we're going to quickly gloss over the rules here. Any off-screen kill is last, any animal kill is last, and if the villain itself isn't definitively killed off on screen, then his death is not a part of the ranking. So without further ado, let's jump on in to this ranking.
This place is a zoo!
Coming in last at number 7 is the death of Ellie Grimbridge.
Trade secrets.
So at this point in the movie, when it looks like Ellie and Dr. Chalice's investigation has hit a dead end, she spots her dad's car being hidden away in a garage. So Connell Cochran dispatches his robot goons to kidnap Ellie later that evening and bring her to the Silver Shamrock factory. And that's when Dr. Chalice goes into hero mode. He rescues Ellie from her captors, kills the bad guys, and the two escape to warn everyone of Cochran's dastardly plan. But on the way out of town, Ellie suddenly attacks Chalice because it's revealed that she is an android herself? Like, huh?
What?
Now, I do like this twist and reveal that you don't immediately assume she's an android until you realize that she hasn't spoken a word since being rescued. But the kill I'm ranking here isn't the death of the android, it's the death of the real Ellie Grimbridge. And it's last because we don't know what actually happened to her. I mean, obviously, one would assume they simply killed her off and disposed of her corpse, but I've also heard fans debate this issue that she might have been an android the entire time, which is possible, as Cochran does have speaking androids, but I tend to believe she was killed and then replaced, as all the androids share the same non-emotional vacant voice cadence and expressions. And like I said, Ellie didn't start behaving that way until after being rescued. And also, I think at a certain point, Dr. Chalice may have realized that Ellie might not have been all she seemed. So yeah, she was killed. Coming in at number 6 is the death of Connell Cochran.
You don't really know much about Halloween.
So during the climax of this film, Connell Cochran's dastardly plan is mere minutes from commencing, when Dr. Chalice sneaks in to spoil the fun by turning on the deadly commercial, and before Cochran's robot goons can turn it off, Chalice sneaks up to the rafters with a box of booby-trapped badges, and he makes it rain on those bitches, frying their circuitry. But the relentless droning of the commercial activates a force from deep inside the Stonehenge monolith, and Cochran is zapped with the energy of 3 millennia worth of pent-up Celtic magic, and now Ellie and Chalice are screwed because Cochran can now, I guess he could turn into Jiffy Pop tinfoil and be assumed into B-movie heaven? I mean, what the hell just happened?
I got nothing.
So I'm guessing the power of the rock vaporizes Cochran with a mega laser blast, similar to the one that killed Marge Gutman earlier. But in that scenario, and like with Billy Cupfer Jr., their heads and faces were blasted apart or turned to mush, and all sorts of creepy crawlers came spewing out. So here, with that amount of power, you'd expect that Cochran would just explode with insects and snakes and shit. But instead, he turns into a smiling mannequin of paper or tinfoil? Or I don't friggin' know. and then he just fades away like a Kansas song. So yeah, I mean, it's second to last because what the hell? But I do love his little golf clap before going out. I mean, you just gotta love it when a villain knows he's screwed, but still goes out like an arrogant ass.
If you gotta go, go with the slide.
Coming in at number 5 is the death of Starker.
I ain't got no diseases. You mind if I have a drink?
As Dr. Chalice is taking in Santa Mira by night by going out for some late night hooch, he is happened upon by town drunk Starker. And while lightening Chalice's alcohol load, he drops some truth bombs about Conal Cochran and Silver Shamrock, and how they ruined the town. He then goes on to warn Chalice about being watched and to be careful right before he profoundly exclaims,
Hey, Cochran, fuck you!
And after that, Starker goes on to lead a long, fulfilling life. Nah, I'm just kidding. Some of Cochran's robots show up and rip his head off. There isn't much to say about Starker. I mean, he's there purely for fodder purposes and to drop backstory exposition about Cochran and the town, but that's it. And y'all know that I love a good head decapitation, but the effect here is pretty bad. And in a movie that has some legit disgusting and disturbing makeup effects, this whole kill looks lazy, as it just looks like Dick Warlock forcing dude down into a very suggestive pose and then ripping a Halloween mask off of a dummy. Just an ass effect.
Find a happy place. Find a happy place.
Coming in at number 4 is the death of Teddy.
I was always good at moonlighting, wasn't I?
The best.
So Teddy here is tasked with doing the autopsies of Ellie's father and the man who murdered him before turning himself into a human-sized bonfire. But Chalice smells something foul and asks her to keep him posted if she finds anything suspicious. And through most of the movie, Teddy believes the ashes she is sifting through are parts of the car that got mixed in with dude's remains, until she suddenly realizes that it's not car parts, but robot parts. Not sure how she comes to that sudden conclusion, but before she can alert the authorities, a Silver Shamrock robot goon jump scares Teddy, pins her down, and then drills her. In terms of kills, there is nothing really drawn out or elaborate here. It's all pretty straightforward and simple. Now, they could have gone the schlocky way and put in some cheap prop effect and sprayed blood everywhere, but I'm glad they showed restraint and blocked the kill out of view. You get the point without needing to actually see it, because your brain can fill in the gaps. So yeah, a nice tastefully executed kill, but now is where we get into the nitty-gritty. So kicking off my top 3 at number 3 is the death of Harry Grimbridge.
Going to kill us.
So at the beginning of the movie here, Harry is fleeing the Silver Shamrock crew in order to try and warn the world about Conal Cochran's plans. Well, they end up catching up with old Harry at an auto yard, and when attempting to put his old ass to sleep, Harry crushes his attacker with a car and escapes to a nearby gas station where later on he is transported to a hospital. But one of Cochran's goons has tracked him down, and while asleep, said goon enters and goes to give Daddy-O a purple nurple, but instead decides to gouge his eyes out and then break the front of his skull off. And when the nurse goes in to check on Harry, she screams, which wakes Dr. Chalice, who chases the goon to the parking lot, where he gets in a car and blows himself up like a human-sized M80. I really love this whole sequence from start to finish. It's a great way to open the movie with a little bit of mystery, like why is this guy running? Who is he running from? Why is he carrying a mask? And even by the end of it all, we are left with more questions than answers. But the way Harry goes out is pretty graphic and disturbing. Like, I can't imagine having my eyes gouged out and then having the front of my face and skull forcibly ripped off. Like, damn, that's hardcore. But the cherry on top of all of this is that Carpenter Howarth score. I mean, it is just a chef's kiss masterpiece.
No one can stop the clock!
Coming in at number 2 is the death of Marge Gutman.
Damn factory!
So while enjoying a Coke and a stroll, Ellie gets startled by a shop owner named Marge Gutman, who corners her into a one-way conversation about her struggles with Silver Shamrock and how their masks are starting to suck, which she demonstrates by showing off to the camera that the badging fell off of her kid's mask. And I love the look on Ellie's face throughout this. It's like, I don't want to talk to you, leave me alone. But later on, as Margie is settling in, she happens to see that on the reverse side of the Silver Shamrock badge, there's some weird looking microchip thing. So she decides to start jabbing at it with her hair clip, looking to accomplish God knows what, when BAM! She takes a minty blast of laser beam freshness right to her mouth, which leaves her face scorched to shit. And in her last moments before death, we see some critters start crawling out of her filleted features. All the props and flowers to the makeup and effects artist here, because this kill looks painful as fuck and is absolutely disgusting. Like, I can't imagine what that must feel like to literally have your face blasted apart, but then to also feel the bugs crawl out of you as you die. I mean, that's just nightmare fuel. But as gnarly as this kill is, there is one more obviously that completely steals the show. So as no surprise to anyone, the kill coming in at number 1 is the death of the Kupfer family.
I think this whole thing is a big joke.
So the Kupfer family, Buddy Sr., his wife Betty, and their dickhead son Buddy arrive in Santa Mira because Buddy Sr. is receiving a special award from Silver Shamrock and Conal Cochran for moving the most merch company-wide. So the Kupfers get a special tour of the facility, getting to see how the masks get made. And little Buddy is even gifted a mask by Conal Cochran himself.
Is he incredible or what?
So later on that evening, Buddy and family get invited back to the factory where they are sequestered into a special room, where Daddy thinks he's going to critique some brand new Silver Shamrock commercials. But instead, they roll the big giveaway commercial. And like a good little boy, Buddy Jr. puts on his mask and stares at the magic flashing pumpkin. And it's not long after, with Cochran and Chalice looking on, that Buddy Jr. starts spazzing out as his head is being disintegrated and melted into mush. Buddy's parents are soon horrified at the sight of all sorts of insects, worms, and snakes pouring out of every orifice of their son's skull. So much so that Mommy passes out and dies of a heart attack, I guess? And Dad gets bit by a venomous snake and he falls over and dies. But I mean, seriously, how could this kill not be number 1? It's arguably one of the most iconic scenes in the entire franchise, and what a nightmarish way to go out. Not just for Buddy Jr., because as we established with Marge, getting your skull turned into mush and then being alive just long enough to feel all these bugs and shit crawling out of you is just next level gross and disgusting. But how about for the parents, and to see this happening to your child? I mean, again, that's just extra fucked up. Now, I'll be honest, the way the parents die is pretty corny, but this scene and spot in the ranking is carried on the shoulders of Billy Jr.'s death. It's perfectly sadistic, gross, and horrific, and is the number 1 kill of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
It's getting late. I could use a drink.
Well, there you have it. That was my ranking of these kills in this movie based off of nothing but my own personal preference. And please, if you did like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you didn't like the video, well, go make one of your own and GTFO.